Ram Mandir in Ayodhya was probably the most evocative issue that has shaped politics for over 3 decades. The pre-poll survey by CSDS, Lokniti, which was conducted 2 months after the Pran Pratishtha ceremony, found that the temple's inauguration was widely welcomed and remains etched in minds of the respondents as a major event. Nearly half of the respondents said that the temple construction will help consolidate Hindu identity. Elections are around the corner. Every issue is important for every political party in the frame. And Ram Mandir today stands at the center of it. There will be other issues which I'll take them to you. But first we'll tackle the issue of Ram Mandir. Ram Mandir has become a subterranean issue and is likely to work in BJP's favor, as 22% of the respondents view this Ram temple construction as BJP's best work. So, if you look at the survey which I am starting to put in front of you, which is courtesy CSDS Lokniti pre-poll, 48% feel that it helps in consolidating Hindu identity, and it's a positive word. It is said positively. Only 25% says it doesn't impact them much. 24% has no opinion, but let me tell you, 48% is 50%. 50% of the Indians feel that it helps them consolidate the identity. And Ram Mandir's resonance is the loudest in North and West India. On this issue, I am joined by my guests, but I'll come to them a little later. This is about poor, lower middle class, and upper middle class. They have their view on Ram temple, which I'll come to it later, but let me just straight away go to my guests. I'm joined by Matthew Vesselvarai, psephologist. I'm also joined by Brijesh Pandey, our input editor, Anil Verma, Dr. Anil Verma, and Arun Anand, senior journalist. I'll repeat it again for you, Dr. Anil K. Verma, political analyst, Matthew Vesselvarai. Let me straight away go to Arun. Arun, the fact that 48% of Indians feel that this helps consolidate the Hindu identity. How do you see this?
I think it was a foregone conclusion. No, actually, but we don't have to even look at this survey to reach at this conclusion. If you look at the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, which is the highest decision-making body of the RSS, its meeting was held in March this year, and an annual report was placed there. So the RSS and the inspired organizations by RSS had run a Samarpan Nidhi Abhiyan to collect money from every house for construction of the Ram temple. And you would be surprised to know that 19 crore families have basically contributed to it. So, if you look at even in terms of the electoral gain, so the next election is, kind of was sealed when the Samarpan Nidhi Abhiyan was carried out. But most of us as analysts tended to miss that out because that thing was done very quietly or at the ground level. Also, one important thing which I want to bring, see, the Ram temple has been built because the movement had started in the recent movement had started in 1980s. So it has taken a long time. So uh, over a period of time, when a movement is so long, so it tends to expand its base, and they have been able to build a narrative of their own. When the movement had started, it was more of a counter narrative kind of a thing. But now, with the construction of the Ram temple, they've crossed that Lakshman Rekha, and now they are talking about their own narrative. So I would look at it like.
Let me straight away go to Matthew Vesselvarai. Matthew, how do you see the Ram temple becoming a pivot?
See, after 10 years of rule of Mr. Narendra Modi as Prime Minister of India, he still has to use the Ram Mandir temple as an issue to present before the voter. I mean, is there nothing else that he has to say in the last 10 years? In any mature democracy, the issues most talked about are employment and inflation. In India, Mr. Modi has got lucky on the inflation front, primarily because crude prices are down, and as compared to UPA, which saw double digit inflation,
My
food
question to you
inflation
is
has
different.
not
No, no,
gone.
Matthew. My question is
Yeah.
my question is not about what you feel. My question is about 48% of the Indians feel that it consolidates the Hindu identity. That's the
So I agree
question.
with that. I agree with that. There is no two ways about that.
There is no two way about it. Okay,
Yeah.
Dr. Verma, how do you look at this? Because there's another part of it, I'll come to it, and that is going to stun everyone. And then the real conversation will start. To you first, sir.
Kartikeya, I'll put this thing in a slightly different way. You have been focusing on Hindu identity. Uh, by doing so, you are actually, you see, neglecting those segments of the society which had also contributed to the building of Ram Temple and Pran Pratishtha. And in that, you should also understand that many Muslims have contributed, many Christians have contributed, Sikhs have contributed. Every social denomination, every religious denomination, without any exception, has contributed to the building of Ram Temple. Therefore, saying that it is certainly leading to a Hindu, consciousness, but saying that it is exclusively a Hindu identity thing, a Ram Temple, I would beg to disagree on that. The second thing is that one co-panelist was mentioning that why only Ram Temple is being brought by the government or Mr. Modi or BJP. I would also look at this thing from a different perspective. It is the other way around, actually. It's not the government which is exclusively building and harping on Ram Temple. Ram Temple is one issue, one agenda, which was very much there in their manifesto and since the party inception. And therefore, achievement of any such long-awaited project is certainly a matter of hype and pleasure and achievement for the party. And that's but what is important is that the people are getting connected to it. And as you might have noticed, the kind of rush that is there to the Ram temple it speaks for itself that all Indians, is including you might have noticed that a Jatha of Muslims, they travel to Ayodhya barefooted. So saying that it is only a Hindu identity thing, I would also beg to disagree on this thing. So I think that this Ram Mandir is certainly it's a good hope and good consolidation and revival of whatever you call Hindu identity, but at the same time, I would say that it is in fact a symbol of national identity and not just the Hindu identity.
Okay, but Brijesh, a lot of people used to say that with the Ram temple complete, Pran Pratishtha over, it will cease to be an issue. It will cease to be an issue. But the fact of the matter is that in fact it is accruing tremendous benefit to Bharatiya Janata Party.
No, it is supposed to accrue tremendous benefit to Bharatiya Janata Party, and the kind of traffic which was there on 22nd of January, and the elections are barely three and a half months away from there. So it was a foregone conclusion that this will benefit Bharatiya Janata Party a lot. And we saw for months after, at least 1 month after that, we saw every single day more than 4 to 5 lakh people visited to have a deco at Ram Temple in Ayodhya, and that was a very clear indication of the kind of emotion which was being generated. Yeah, one thing is also there that not many top leaders were talking about Ram Temple in the last 15-20 days, that which was personally to me a surprise. But it is definitely there that that this Ram Temple issue is there. It is forging a lot of Hindu identity. I'm saying Hindu identity is because just the professor just said before me that it is about Muslims and Christians and all. Yes, there is a token representation, but by and large, it is the Hindu identity which is being forged. And very interesting thing which is there on the screen, Kartikeya, 25% feel that it's not impacted, it is going to have no impact, and 24% has no opinion on this.
Okay,
so it's a split wide open as far as.
Let me go back to the caste data which we had made, and then we'll know how the left liberal argument which says that the ST and SC are beyond the pale, how do they feel? Let us play out that, and then I'll tell you why we have decided to play that data out. Because ultimately, the critique of the larger Ram temple has been that, well, it's only about the upper caste. But if you look at the data, castes and the various segments cutting across Hindu society, they support it. And as I had played out those numbers to you, I'll be playing them on the screen again, that will reinforce the argument I'm trying to make. So let's play out those graphics now. Let's play out the graphics and then we'll go to the guests. Okay, let's go to the guests first. Arun, I'll play out the graphics in a while. So when we talk about Hindu or Hindutva, isn't it one and the same thing?
So I think I would take it from where Dr. Verma left. I think probably it's more of a Sanatani identity which is getting asserted, and the Sanatan Dharma. Of course, in the popular discourse, we call it Hindu or Hindutva. And Hindutva is basically the manifestation of Sanatan Dharma. So I would, and in English, if you want to call it, it's basically Hinduness. So, of course, there is an assertion of that, but see, there is a very fine line between aggression and being assertive. I remember we have Karthika discussed earlier in private conversations also that Raju Bhaiya was a third Satsang Chalak. So when this Ramjan Bhumi movement was at its peak, he became Satsang Chalak and he gave an interview, and the interviewer asked him that do you think that this display of aggressive, by that time 92 Babri Masjid demolition had already happened, do you think that it's a display of aggressive Hindutva? He said no, Hindutva can never be aggressive, it's assertive. So Hindus are getting assertive, the construction of Ram temple. I also want to bring one important point that government has got nothing to do with the construction of Ram temple. It was done at the behest of Supreme Court's decision. The Supreme Court said that the government needs to set up a trust. Construction has been done by
Arun,
trust, not even a single penny has been taken.
I'm just stopping you for a minute. Arun, if you look at it, a lot of people say it will have a lot of difference. But Arun, it does not have a lot of difference. 47, 46, 55, 59%. So basically more than 45% of the people, and let me play out the other graphic. This is the class. Upper helps in consolidating the Hindu identity. Northwest 51, South 43%, East and Northwest 45%. Not impacting Hindus much. 24, 28, 25. Don't know 23, 23, 26. Let's go back to the earlier graphic which I was playing. This is the graphic in terms of region. So even South feels that it has helped, which is 43%. And I think this explains why Prime Minister has been camping so much in Tamil Nadu. So even in poor, lower middle class, upper middle class and middle class, it's more than 40%. So there is not much of a difference, Arun. If you look at ST, SC, more than 40% per segment believe that it is creating a construction of a larger identity, and it is not negative in nature. Arun.
See, the whole paradox is that the left liberal, there are two frameworks through which we tend to see the popular movements in our country. One is a Marxist framework, the other is we call the Western framework. And unfortunately, both these frameworks look at most of the popular movements in terms of binaries. So when they look at the impact of Ram temple, or when this movement was going on, they were talking about lower caste, upper caste, or they talk about the poor and the rich. But they fail to understand that the core of Sanatan Dharma or the core of Hindutva is it does not agree with the binaries. It does not believe in binaries. A common Hindu does not think in binaries. And whereas the analysts are trying to analyze it in terms of binaries. So I think that is where there is you find a lot of results which are stunning. And one more thing that Pradhan Mantri himself is an OBC and he was the judgeman in the ceremony. And the second important thing is that when the Shilanyas was done, Kameshwar Paswan, I think, or Kameshwar Paswan. So he was the one who, a Dalit, what you call, I don't believe in this terminology Dalit, I believe in the scheduled caste. So a scheduled caste had laid down the foundation stone of Ram temple.
Now I told you, Arun, I told you, when I invited you to my show that there's an other part, and most of my guests would also be very surprised because there's another part to this debate, and that will be on point number 2, and that is why I say that the feeling that there is a larger Hindu identity at construction is not opposed to, is not opposed to a plural India.